This is Mac OS Ken.
Checking iPhone shares in China, analysts send notes ahead of Apple earnings, and HomePod starts playing hard to get. It is Monday, the 30th of January, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. While smartphone sales were down in China for 2022, Apple's market share was up. That is the word from Counterpoint Research. According to the market tracker, iPhone sales for the year were down 3%. That is significantly better than smartphone sales in China as a whole. For the full year, those were down 14%. Apple's performance was enough to make it the number 2 brand in China, the first time it has held second for a full year, according to Counterpoint. It also reached its highest ever quarterly share, according to the piece, capturing 23.7% of the sales in the fourth quarter of 2022. The firm lists 2 primary reasons for China's smartphone decline: COVID-related restrictions, followed by COVID-related COVID. Since the spring of 2022, says the Counterpoint release, many cities in China, both large and small, were being subjected to COVID-19 restrictions, which negatively impacted consumer sentiment and further delayed smartphone replacements. Sales got a bit of a bump in November thanks to promotions tied to the country's Singles' Day sales holiday. Momentum didn't stick, though. The sudden reversal of COVID restrictions led to the rapid spread of the illness, leading to a dampening of consumer spending. Going forward, though, things might get better. Counterpoint says China's smartphone sales may show positive year-on-year growth in the second quarter of 2023, when the country should have restored normal social activities. That said, the firm warns that consumer sentiment will take longer than the economy to recover, particularly when it comes to income prospects. Therefore, the firm does not expect any explosive growth in smartphone sales this year, but a marginal recovery can still be expected. Of course, the well-heeled still have money to spend, and a new note from Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani says they are spending. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note from the analyst. That had a few luxury brands, including LVMH, Burberry, and luxury goods holding company Richemont, seeing positive signs for the quarter. In Macau, said LVMH, the change is quite spectacular. The stores are full. It's really come back very, very strong pace. Burberry says things are very promising, while Richemont said it was experiencing a strong retail rebound pre-Chinese New Year. What does all that have to do with Apple? Well, Daryanani and crew see the news as encouraging for the Cupertino company, as iPhone sales should generally track the broader luxury market in China. The analyst says he and his expect the lost December quarter sales to be recovered in the March quarter, and the data points on luxury spending increase their confidence that Apple's March quarter guide will be comfortably ahead of consensus. Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $190. Years ago, I gave Citi analyst Jim Suva the nickname Dollar Jim Suva because he wrote a whole note justifying moving his price target on Apple shares by $1. I'll not do the same for BofA analyst Wamsi Mohan, though he did the same as Suva to end the week last week. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note he wrote. According to that, he and his think Apple will report revenue of $120 billion for the December quarter, below the street's expectation of $122 billion. As for the March quarter, they expect guidance or color, or whatever Apple's going to call it, of $96 billion in revenue, below the street's expectation of $97 billion. The fact that iPhone supply has caught up with iPhone demand bodes ill in Mohan's estimation. It leads he and his to conclude that demand could be softer than expected in the first half of 2023. It's not so much that he's negative, he just can't find reason to be positive. Not that he's not open to it. The way he sees it, the tone on Apple's next earnings call will be crucial to understand the underlying demand trajectory, given the December quarter was significantly supply constrained for the higher-end Pro models of iPhones. Mr. Mohan has a neutral rating on Apple shares. He's moved his price target on the shares from $154 to $153. 8 bits Mohan? I don't think it'll stick. Earnings season is underway, and Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives says this week's report from Apple will be the most important. In yet another bit posted by Apple 3.0, Ives says that's because Apple's report will give a glimpse into the overall demand story for consumers globally, while giving a snapshot of the China supply chain issues starting to slowly abate. He says the street will be laser-focused on Apple CEO Tim Cook's commentary for the March and June quarters. While he thinks Cook and company will be particularly conservative around the March quarter guidance, he thinks Apple is well-positioned for any troubles ahead. Taking a position similar to positions that he has taken in the past, Ives says, with roughly 20% of its golden installed base not upgrading their iPhone in about 4 years, we believe Apple remains in a unique situation to withstand this economic storm better than its tech peers. Apple will likely cut some costs around the edges, but we do not expect mass layoffs from Cupertino this week. Mr. Ives has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $175. Whatever Apple plans to offer in the way of guidance or color or tea leaf reading or whatever, the world will hear it soon. Apple is set to report December quarter earnings this Thursday, the 2nd of February. The numbers will hit via press release after the bell at about 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. About a half an hour later, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, Apple execs and Apple analysts will hit the phones for their quarterly Q&A. You can hear that as it happens on Apple's site. It'll be made available as a podcast soon after. And of course, we will hit points big and small right here on Friday, the 3rd of February. Maybe it was a don't know what you got till it's gone thing, but waits are increasing for the full-sized HomePod. For the past couple of years, if you wanted a big HomePod, you either had to find one pre-owned or not have a big HomePod. Apple announced an improved, full-size HomePod about a couple of weeks ago. Due to consumers this Friday, the 3rd of February, if you want to order one from Apple, you will not be getting it this Friday. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac written Sunday said that waits for the second-generation HomePod in the midnight hue were showing delivery between the 22nd of February and the 1st of March, a 3-week to 4-week delay versus this Friday's release. At the time the piece was written, it was still possible to get a white one by this Friday, though that has since changed. By late Sunday afternoon, early Sunday evening, free delivery on the white model showed between the 20th of February and the 22nd. Pay an extra $8 and you could move that up to between the 17th of February and the 21st. Of course, you could try dropping by an Apple store or an Apple-authorized reseller. The website for my local Best Buy indicated that had I pre-ordered Sunday, I'd be able to pick up a midnight or white model this Friday. Target was a bit more vague, saying if I pre-ordered Sunday, it would be delivered on or shortly after release date. Anyway, the new HomePod is playing hard to get. Happy hunting. You know how it feels like everything is turning up soccer at Apple? Yeah, it's starting to feel that way about surfing, too. Apple TV Plus issued a press release last week teasing Season 2 of Make or Break. According to that, the acclaimed documentary series features behind-the-scenes access to the world's best surfers, as they battle for the top title at the World Surf League Championship Tour. 8 episodes total for Season 2. The first 4 hit Apple TV Plus on Friday, the 17th of February. The other 4 follow along 1 week later, reaching the beach on Friday, the 24th. And finally today, while you might not see much Apple kit in Season 2 of that show, don't be surprised to see more than a few Apple Watches in the 3rd season. Assuming there is a 3rd season. Mac Rumors ran a report late last week saying that Apple Watch has been named the official wearable of the World Surf League during the 2023 Championship Tour. Mac Rumors says WSL athletes will use the WSL Surfer app on the Apple Watch Series 8 and Apple Watch Ultra to get updates while they're surfing in the competition. The app is designed to sync with the WSL scoring system in real time, offering athletes important details on scores, wave priority, and time remaining in the heat. Now, it's possible you will see Apple's wearable in the 2nd season. Mac Rumors says the device WSL app combo have been in testing for the past couple of tours. As for seeing it in the future, that sounds like a definite. Mac Rumors says each competitor will receive an Apple Watch before each heat, with the watch to come preloaded with the WSL app. If you haven't checked out the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast yet, it would be neat if you would. 20 minutes or so of interesting topics with people both entertaining and informative. The Daily Observations podcast from the Mac Observer. Find that online at macobserver.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.